Excellent. Thank you, Leah. Um, so we'll call the meeting to order as the new chair and welcome you all this evening. So somehow it's Thursday again. It happened so quickly. Um, and we were saying earlier, thanks to Leah for pulling everything together. Bob mentioned the questions, but also just getting us organized. Having not done this before herself, she's really shining. So I appreciate
Fine.
that. I was like 5 steps behind her this week. So um, we probably we don't have minutes in advance of this meeting. That will happen at a future date, but we do need someone to take minutes for this meeting if somebody would volunteer. Bob, thank you. It's great. Appreciate that. Um, so I think we can move on to public comment if we have anyone else. I don't see anybody anyone besides the panelists. Do you, Leah?
No, I don't.
Okay. It's 6:05. We could wait a minute or so. For public comment and see if anybody shows up, but I don't see anyone there. So if everyone's okay with moving on, it is good to do a roll call of who's here, of the panelists. We could do that while we're waiting and just check and see if there's anyone comes on, just to make sure we can hear each other and for attendance sake. So I'll just say your name and you just say here. That would be great. Ellen.
Here.
Tim.
Here.
Angus.
Here.
Jason.
Here.
Jonas, who's driving, is here. I will just assume. Robin.
Here.
Thank you. Bob.
Here.
Great. Thank you. So missing Dave at the moment. All right, so seeing no other public attendees, we'll move on to hearing presentations, which is we're a little bit early. So I did want to ask folks to sort of confirm that our approach to this, to hearing presentations, is as follows. And if you wanted to make any adjustments or had any questions in advance, what we try to do is have the proposal and the option for answering questions ahead of time help us be as efficient as possible. So the idea is to have a very minimal presentation, since the proposal is really, the written proposal is what we use primarily. But it gives us a sense of what folks are doing and the enthusiasm, and then it gives us a chance to also ask questions. And I will be the timekeeper just to keep us on track. We basically say that everybody has 20 minutes, so 5 to 10 minutes for presentations. Sometimes people are very brief and do it in 3 minutes. Sometimes they're a little bit longer. And then if I will, at the end of, say, the 20 minutes, I will ask the committee if you all have more burning questions that you absolutely need to have answered before you can make your decision, then we could continue on. But we'll decide as a group about that. Does that make sense? I'm seeing some nods. Okay. Anybody have any alterations to offer or a different approach or questions? I think we told, oh, yeah, Angus, go ahead.
It's not about the process. That all sounds great for the process.
Okay, great.
It's about something different, but I don't know if this is an
No,
okay
feel
time
free.
to.
This is great. It's, we told the folks that presentations would start around 6:30, which is always a challenge because public comment usually doesn't take too long. We sometimes have a budget review, which we did the last meeting. So we do have time, so feel free.
Well, it's actually about budget. I was wondering if
Okay.
it might be possible to get a breakdown on one sheet of paper or something, or one Excel spreadsheet of all the requests, and maybe even tagged according to the 3 categories, or 4, depending on whether open space and recreation is separated. Do we have that on
We-
one sheet?
We do. Go ahead, Leah.
I'm sorry. We do, it's a section of the larger workbook. Did you
Okay.
just want to see it? Did you want it sent out? Did you want it, how did you?
I just missed it somehow, so I need to go back and look at that.
I'm not sure I actually sent that piece of it out. It's tied to the spreadsheet that we do when you guys all rate at the end. So I can
Oh, okay.
definitely send that out if you want. I can also attempt to share again and see if that works. If you
Yeah,
want to
it would
see
it would be helpful just for me to, as I'm thinking about the different projects. I know that we're not going to think about the total budget until the end, but it's helpful to get a sense of how things are breaking down. And right now I have to go into each application separately to see the amounts requested and that kind of thing. So
I can definitely put something together if you want. I can just do that and send it out if you want to do that. Or do you want to see it
Yeah.
quickly?
I don't need to see it right now. It would just
Okay.
be helpful to have it sent
Okay.
out. Thank
I
you.
can do
I think that rating sheet is super. It already has it by category, Leah, and that
Yeah,
that might be useful.
that's
It
the
has the
sheet that we
amounts.
use. Yep.
Yeah, so I think if we all had that, it could be a great tool.
Okay.
It is to go back and forth. I sort of set my own thing up, Angus. So I should have followed your lead of asking for what already exists. Any other questions about
No.
process?
When you guys want to just look at the calendar again real quick, if that's something we should do right now for a few minutes, or
Yeah, because there's a proposed public hearing on December 11th.
yeah,
Were there other changes to that?
nope, I just added in the 2 that we had talked about in January.
January? Mhm.
So we'll see if this actually shares, but it's basically,
You got it.
oh, yay. So if you go to the very, I don't know how it moved, the very bottom, basically I just added the 15th and the 22nd of January, just in case we need it. I didn't put as needed, but I did, and I think that's what we decided, that it would be as.
Yes, as
Um,
needed, exactly.
And then Dave he might have some more feedback on it, but he suggested on the December 11th meeting, there are only 3 presentations that night. Some of them might be longer, but there's 3. But he suggested starting the meeting maybe at 5:30 to do public comment before that, the public hearing before the meeting starts at 6.
Mhm.
I don't know how people feel about that.
Because that's pickleball, skate park, and bathhouse,
In
right?
bathhouse, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. That's gonna be a long evening.
I'm fine with the time change as well. Is it because you anticipate a lot of public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dave's here either.
The public hearing, in my time has gone from like 1 person or 2 people. Sometimes the people who've submitted proposals will come back and reiterate things. But then there have been times where there's been a very long, about 1 or 2 different proposals with a lot of interest. So, Dave, please feel free to add in.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Yeah, that was Lee and I had spoken about that the other day, and I thought doing the public hearing at the beginning, because we don't want to hold anyone who wants to just make public comment during that hearing till the end of the night. And given the
Right.
3 three proposals that evening. And I think this year, I think given the total ask of $6 million or so, some of the more complex projects like the bathhouse, like town hall roof, like Jones Library and others, there will be a lot of questions, and people may want to comment at that public hearing. So I think starting 30 minutes early with the public hearing would be good. And if there's only 15, 20 minutes, then you're good to go.
Sounds good to me. I appreciate that. If everyone's available for a 5:30 start on the 11th, that would be great. Do we need to approve this, or are we good? I don't feel like we have to have an approval process. Yeah, okay, great.
So I'll make sure that, I think all of the meetings have now been posted on the portion of the website for CPA. So I'll make sure that that's changed so that people know in advance.
We could do
And I think that-
virtual pizza as well. You know,
You're bringing it, Dave.
That's
I'll
good.
volunteer to bring it to everybody's
That's-
house.
That's a great idea. It's low calorie. So Leah, if you don't mind, stop sharing this. That would be great. And it looks like we have one person attending, and if that person would like to make a public comment, we would welcome it at this time, and then we'll close public comment time.
I think if I could, Katie, the person in the waiting room is actually the staff person, Walker Powell, who is going to do the presentation on the Civil War tablets.
Oh, great.
Oh,
So
that's
when
great.
you're ready.
Okay, Bob, did you have a question?
No, I think
Oh.
that's great. It's him. Yep.
Yeah, okay. I think we can move forward.
We're allowed to
Unless-
start early. Is that okay?
We're allowed to start early if the panelist is, if the proposer is willing and able. Yeah. I think we should. Great. So Walker, welcome.
Hello.
Oh, great. We can see you and hear you. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We are starting early. If this works for you, we'd
Yep, no problem.
welcome. Okay, great. Well, the floor is yours for your presentation, and then we'll probably have a few questions for you.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen because I do have a very short PowerPoint.
Great.
And everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So the first project I'm talking about here is the proposal to relocate and restore the Amherst Civil War tablets. You probably, I assume you all are aware of the tablets, but just a brief overview of their importance.
I'm
They
sorry,
used to-
Walker, I don't mean to butt in. I
Yep.
just need to let Katie know, this is the part where this is a Jones related, so because of my relationship with MHC, I'm recusing myself from this particular presentation. So I'll join you when it's done.
All right, so the tablets were gifted to the town in 1893 by a local Civil War veterans organization, and they memorialized the 300+ Amherst residents who served in the Civil War. So they're already important for that, but I think the real thing to call out about the tablets and the significance that people have recognized with the tablets is they are the first monument in Amherst that explicitly acknowledges Black and Afro-Indigenous residents of Amherst at the time, and reflects the diversity of the residents at the time, so that it's not just history, it's a way of seeing history that's unique, and we would like to bring that into the present. And I don't want to go too far without mentioning that I'm coming into this project very recently. This has been a years-long project that many people have really invested a ton of time and effort into. In particular, Deborah Bridges and Annika Lopez, I know, have really put a huge amount of passion and effort into coming up with a vision for how the tablets can be displayed and how they can be repurposed to help people learn more about Amherst's history and the diversity of Amherst's past. So I'm just hoping that this project can help bring their vision to fruition and will, meet their expectations. And I'm very indebted to them for all the work that they've put into this, and many other people as well, I'm sure. I've not been here long enough to have met everybody. So it was Deborah specifically, I believe, that led the effort to get the tablets installed where they are currently at the Bangs Center in a temporary installation so that they could actually be viewed by the public. But this installation is just temporary and they need a more permanent location. So what's been proposed is a room in the library once it's renovated. In the basement, in the special collections section, there is a room specifically dedicated for the tablets. As you can see on this plan, they've got it marked out. They've got mounts along the wall where the tablets can be located. And I think they've got some suggestions for where maybe a digital display and some signs can be located within the room. So within the special collections, the tablets will be protected. They will be permanently displayed, and they'll be open to anyone who wishes to come and see them and research them and learn more about them. So this is all great, but there is still some funding needed. The library budget did not include funding to get the tablets moved, which is an expense. They're very large, they're very heavy, and they are very fragile. And in addition, there's some restoration work and design work for the room that's still going to be required. So these pictures just call out a few spots. A restoration was completed in 2010, but the report did note that there are some chips and stains and small areas that are still going to need a final look over after they get moved to their permanent location, in addition to anything that might have occurred during transport. Hopefully nothing will. So that's part of the budget. And then the transportation itself is part of the budget. It may involve like a crane. I don't really know how they get moved safely, but we will have a professional company that does that. And then we will also have a professional preservationist to assess the room and determine, does it need humidity controls? What sort of, do they need a protective glass covering? Are they left open to the air? What sort of environment does the room need to ensure that they last and remain visible and readable and usable for many years to come? So we've requested $75,000. This is a rough estimate. It is based on a rough estimate I got from a professional company that does do this kind of work. He just gave me sort of a back of the envelope numbers to go by for now, but we would get a proper scope and a proper proposal done before we actually started spending the funds. I think that's all I had, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Walker. Appreciate it. And I was just going to say, in the way that we do this is we raise our little hands, our little Zoom hands, and we'll take one question at a time for you. So Ellen, you are up first in line here.
Okay, thank you, Walker. That was really interesting. I am a trained museum professional, so I'm wondering if you could share with me the name of the company that you plan to do the restoration and the company that you plan to use for the move.
We don't have a company in mind yet. We will have to actually request bids for the scope of this project. So we can't pre-select a company.
Okay. I I trust that you will be using a fine art shipper or mover with lots of experience in handling such a large.
Yes, we will be sure to put in the scope that we require a company with experience in this type of work.
Okay. If I don't know if I'm allowed to do such things, but I can certainly recommend places you could, to put out bids to, as well as for the restoration.
Yeah,
But
that would be
I don't know
great.
if that's overstepping my, my,
No, I'll take all the
That's
suggestions.
fine.
okay.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Yep. Thanks, Ellen. Jason.
Jason or Jonas? Sorry.
Oh,
Ja-
I didn't see you, Jonas.
Oh, sorry, I won't cut off Jason then. Jason, go.
Okay. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
Previously, the Jones was awarded $1 million for, I believe, the design of the room and for something also related to these tablets. Can you clarify what that $1 million was for and how it's intended to be used, or has it already been used, and how that differs from this request?
So I wasn't involved in the Jones budget, so I don't specifically know. I do know that this room will be, it will be set up with the mounts that the tablets go on and some infrastructure already. So that might be part of what it's going towards, but I'm not 100% sure what that money went towards. This is somewhat separate because the actual transport and restoration of the tablets is its own project separate from the library.
Yeah, different from the previous grant. Dave, did you want to clarify?
Yeah, if I could, and I just wanted to also, I forgot to formally introduce Walker. Walker is a planner with the planning department. She's been with us now over a year, Walker, a year and a
Just
half.
over a year, yeah.
Yeah, she's doing terrific work with the historical commission and all sorts of planning and zoning work. So we're really happy to have Walker with us. To answer Jason's question, I would refer Jason and any members of the committee back to the Jones Library proposal for the $1 million. That $1 million was for special collections within the Jones broadly. It was not for the Civil War tablets. So they might have included that in their proposal. This is actually a proposal by the town because we are the owners of the Civil War tablets and we are going to loan them to the Jones in a permanent installation. So as Walker said, this is really for some minor, hopefully minor restoration and then the move itself. But that $1 million, we'd have to look back. That was a year or two ago, but that was broadly for special collections.
I think it was 2020 or 2021. It was a
Yeah.
long,
Yeah, it was a
long
while
time
ago.
ago.
A couple of years ago, but I'd have to myself look back on the website. They're all there and we could look back on that. But the tablets may have been part of that, but they were a very small part of it. It was more broadly for special collections.
Yeah, I think it was this was referred to as what would be in there, but it was for the capital needs, which is different. So Jonas, did you have a question? I know it's hard to raise your hand when you're driving.
Yes, I'm sorry, and I am not driving, but my apologies if it's noisy. But
No worries.
following along with Jason, just wondering if there's a way to break out how much of that is the transport versus the room, because I am wondering, like, why would the $1 million not kind of cover some kind of accommodation of these tablets in the room? And then also I'm wondering, do you have, since these tablets were presumably moved at some point to the Bang Center, do you have those, are those people going to be involved again? Do you have a reference point of what it costs to do that? To inform how much it will cost to now move them again? Thanks.
Yeah, so again, I'm not sure about the $1 million or what that went to, and I'm not sure exactly how much the move is going to cost versus the rest of it. I did include sort of a rough breakdown of the budget in my application. And as far as the company that moved them before, I don't know which company it was, but if I can find a record of that or find someone who does know which one it was, I'd be happy to include them in the bid process and see if they can do it again.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jonas. Angus.
Yeah, I'm just curious. One of the questions I'll be asking a lot of presenters is what is the plan, I guess, if this funding doesn't materialize for the Civil War tablets?
I mean, I don't personally know how long they have to stay at the bank center. If they could stay another year and we could come back next year, maybe. If there's more urgency than that, there might be other sources of funds that could be used, maybe public fundraising or a historical grant, although those are pretty slim, but there's no concrete backup plan that I'm aware of at this time.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, when we approve a project like this, we're approving an up to amount, so once there's firm numbers, it might come in at 67,000, and then that would be the amount of money that would be used. That was something I didn't understand early in the game here. And so I think the question comes up too is what if it's more than that? So I think you just have to come up with a backup plan, as Walker, you're saying, is one thing could be to wait another year and reapply or seek funds elsewhere. Yeah, okay. Great. Ellen.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to Jonas's question because I put that in my questionnaire that was sent, and I'm not sure who responded, but it's in the questions document, and it said a rough breakdown of costs is $35,000 for moving and installing the tablets, including installing custom mounts, $15,000 for restoration as needed, $22,000 for professional assessment and design of the room, and $3,000 for documentation of the restoration and installation. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Appreciate that. Tim.
Yes, so this is not really a question, but an observation. I know Robin has recused herself, but we are going to be seeking guidance from and get from the Historical Society their prioritization of all the projects that are history oriented. So we'll get some guidance from them how this particular project might relate to the other requests in that particular category. So just as a reminder, in the future, we'll get that before we make our final decisions.
Thank you. Yes, thanks, Tim. That the commissions often will weigh in with if there's, as we have the circumstances this year in which we have far greater requests than we have resources. So the town does that as well for the town requests, helps prioritize. Any other questions for Walker? Well, thank you so much, Walker. Really appreciate your work. I'm glad to meet you and appreciate you taking your time tonight and providing this information and answering our questions.
You're not done with me yet. I'm also doing the next one.
Awesome. Great. Well, shall we move into the next one then?
Sure.
We're doing the North and South cemeteries. Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Katie, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before we launch in.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's not really a question for Walker, and it's more a question for the committee.
Yes.
I've noticed there are different people in town who seem to see CPA funds as town spending, and are therefore concerned about CPA funds going towards any Jones Library related project because it's seen as increasing the town's contribution to Jones Library. And I'm just wanting to clarify, CPA funds are those town funds? It seems like they're raised separately and spent separately from any kind of town connection, but I just want to clarify how we should be seeing these funds.
That is a great question, Angus. And I was actually, I didn't make it happen this week, but was going to have a conversation with Dave about this very thing because I think there's differences of opinions about this.
Okay.
So if Dave has a quick answer to that, that'd be great. Or we can come back to you, but Dave's got his hand up, so we'll see.
Sure, very quickly, and we could, the next time we have Sean Mangano with us, we could certainly probe this a little bit more as we get into the dollars later on in this process. But as Sean explained at the last meeting, these are principally tax generated dollars. Any property owner, residential or commercial in Amherst, pays a surcharge on their property tax bill every year, and that money is then put into a fund. It is then matched to a degree by the state, and Sean talked about that process as well. And then ultimately, the town council, your process gets to a point where you recommend to the town council the spending for your recommendations to them, and ultimately the town council makes the decision. So in essence, they are town funds. The town generates them through tax revenue and then the match from the state. And then the town council ultimately has the decision on what to spend the funds on. That having said that, through the years, the town has supported a broad range, and you can go through the history of what we supported since the CPAC, since the surcharge was instituted. I think it was in 2003, 2, 3, 4, right in there. The town has supported a broad range of projects, many of them private, for private historical homes, affordable housing that is now private but permanently affordable, et cetera, et cetera. I think different towns approach it in different ways. I certainly think the leadership of the town, myself included, Sean Mangano and Paul, think of these funds as a way to fund town priorities in the 4 categories, for sure. So we certainly lead with that. Some towns have made it more explicit than that. For instance, saying, we will only fund projects from private entities up to and including this amount. We've not gone there, but that's something we may look at in the future. But in essence, they are town funds, town generated funds through the tax process.
Thank you, Dave. Jason, did you have a question?
Yeah, Dave, can you confirm then, when after we have made our recommendations and this goes to the town council for them to vote, are they able to increase the amounts or decrease the amounts that have been, essentially vetted out by this committee?
We should get clarification on this, Jason. I think they have pretty broad powers. They actually don't have to go along with your recommendations.
Right. That's my understanding.
They could lower your amount. I presume they could raise your amount as well. But they certainly do not have to, come in line with your recommendations. They could decide, and I think there have been a couple of instances where the council through the years, not many, but there have been some instances where the council has said, we are not in favor of funding something for various reasons.
And I
Or
think
they're in favor of funding something to a much higher dollar amount than what we have allocated, through our process.
Yeah, I'd have to think back. There's a lot of projects through the years, and I can't, off the top of my head, think of projects where they change the amount, but I'm sure there are some. There are some, I believe, that they decided they would not want to fund.
Yeah, that isn't the dominant practice that
No.
it's usually
No, it is
approved.
not.
But I think when it comes to bonding something too, that's something I've seen more conversation around that when we recommend that. But Angus.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. That's really helpful and clarifying. And I maybe to flag for when we circle back to discussing both the previous presentation and then the larger Jones Library project. I know there's some members of the community who are concerned about the town contributing more dollars to the Jones Library, based on the memorandum of agreement. And I guess it depends how you see CPA funds, as additional grants to supplement or as additional town funding. But it may be something that we'll have to kind of weigh and discuss when we're weighing the projects. So I just want to flag that.
And I do think based on the town council's ability to accept, decline, or adjust, you know, their previous agreements they have to adhere to or adjust them. So it's really their responsibility to do that, is the way I'm thinking about it, but happy to have more conversation. Robin, you're next.
Yep. Oh, I just recalled that my understanding was that our recommendations, they could be approved, rejected, or reduced, but they couldn't be increased. And if AI is right, then I'm right, but that was my recollection, that the town could reject or reduce the amounts, but they couldn't increase an amount. So if we reject something, the town can't go ahead and approve it. So I'll try to see if I can find the link here in the AI answer that actually.
We can, well, why don't we agree that we'll verify that for the whole
Yes,
committee?
right.
And, yeah, and make sure. Yep, that sounds great.
Right.
And Tim,
Yeah, I would echo Robin's understanding. I believe the town council cannot increase our award. They could decrease it, but not increase it. But that's not my question. My question is, my understanding on, and when we get to the library project, that's going to be the important nugget here, is that my understanding is the CPA funds would be used outside of what the town committed. The $1 million request the CPA had made a few years ago was considered in the library budget at coming out of their fundraising component, not out of the town component. So I think any CPA funds are in addition to what the town has committed in their proposal for the library. But I think we do need to clarify, but that's my understanding.
I'll put that on my list too,
Okay.
along with the confirmation of approved, rejected, or reduced versus, and Dave,
Yeah,
you
just
get the last word.
Sure. I think there will be plenty of time to hear more about the Jones Library proposal, and I just encourage everybody not to get too far ahead of ourselves in that regard. But if need be, we could certainly get more information from the town manager, the finance director, and also our town attorney if needed as to
Right.
what that is considered. I also wanted to just go back to, I think it was Angus's question about what are these funds considered? And I will say that once the joint, the JCPC, the committee that considers capital gets going, and they are beginning to get going through the years, the JCPC will often ask staff, so have you gone to the CPA committee to try to get funding for that eligible X, whatever that is? And oftentimes this committee will say, hey, have you gone to the JCPC to try to get matching funds? So I suspect some of that conversation will be going on in this committee and also with JCPC over the next month or two as you deliberate and they begin their process. Because many of these things fall, the War Memorial Bathhouse. Well, that could be funded with CPA funds, grants, or capital, or a combination of all three. So
Yeah.
that'll be a conversation for the future.
Thank you. So I'll pledge to circle back with town folks on those two items so that we can have some additional clarity, hopefully at the next meeting. But I agree with Dave not to get too far ahead of ourselves, since we can now focus on cemetery headstone restoration. Thanks for all the great questions. And Walker, I can't see you, but I'm assuming you're still there.
I am still here, yes.
Awesome. There you are. Okay. Well, the floor is yours.
Great. So this is the second historical project put forward by the town. And this is a sort of an ongoing thing. We've been doing headstone restoration at the various cemeteries since at least 2021, beginning with West Cemetery. And this is important because it's sort of an ongoing maintenance thing. Obviously, the headstones are getting older. Some of them are very old. They do degrade over time and get damaged. So the sooner we can get to them, the better before they get to the point where they've fallen down or become unsalvageable. We got West Cemetery has pretty much been restored to the point where everything's stable and we're fine with that for a few years, but North and South cemeteries still have some work that needs to be done. A lot of work was done this year, particularly in South Cemetery, but also some in North Cemetery. And it's looking great. They're starting with the stones in the front that you can see, and we've had a lot of positive comments from neighbors and people passing by and visiting the cemetery, how much better it looks. But there's lots more to do. The frost heaves cause the ground to go up and down and the stones to lean and fall over. So this is sort of just continuing funds to continue this project so that we don't get behind and so that the more pressing projects can get done and the more important stones can get fixed. And in addition, if a stone falls over and lands in the grass, it can get staining on it from the grass that's actually almost impossible to remove. Compared to the weathering and the dirt and whatever else gets on it, the staining from the grass is far worse. I was informed by the people who are doing the restoration right now. So the stones that have fallen down are definitely the highest priority for that, and because they make maintenance difficult and they're a hazard to people who are visiting the cemetery. So this is pretty basic. We've requested 100,000, which is enough to complete restoration on approximately 200 headstones. The cost is averages about 450 per headstone. And this includes an assessment, the restoration work itself, and then a report that details the work done on each individual headstone with a picture and the information about the materials used, etc. You could see an example of a page that was done this year over here. So this would get us well into completing all of the really important and more degraded stones in these cemeteries, and would really put us on a good firm footing for just keeping up with maintenance moving forward. But I'll say the budget is flexible because we're paying per headstone. We can certainly do more or less depending on the availability of funds, and some of them are more urgent than others. And the idea was to split the funds between the two cemeteries evenly. So that's basically all I've got for that. It's a pretty straightforward project. And this is a valuable part of Amherst history. Like, you can learn so much about the history just going into the cemetery and looking at the names and the dates and the relationships. And I think a lot of people value it and value visiting the cemetery. And I just wanted to add, because there was a comment at the last in the last presentation, these two both have been run by the Historical Commission. They did review both of these projects, and they did rank the Civil War tablets as a high priority project, and they ranked this one as a moderate priority project.
Great. Well, thank you, Walker. Appreciate that. Leah, is it possible to stop share, or maybe Walker, you're sharing?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
if
can
we
stop.
Yeah, that'd be great, just so we can see each other a little better. Okay, great. Thank you so much. It looks like Ellen, were you up first?
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I was just curious, and Walker, you may not be able to answer this question, perhaps Dave can. But in my research, I noticed that there was a CPA proposal for this exact same project back in fiscal year 25, which was submitted in September of 2023. Was that not approved, or did it not?
That did happen. It actually funded the work that we got done this year. So
In
again,
West Cemetery?
some of West Cemetery and some of North and South Cemetery.
Okay.
Primarily North and South Cemetery for this one. It's a big project. There's more headstones than can be done in a single year.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ellen. Robin?
Hi, Walker. Can the town, I'm glad that you spoke to, kind of whether this funding could be broken up. I know there's always an argument to be made for cost savings when you do a project all at once, but it would probably, given all the asks that we've gotten, it would probably be helpful to have a low figure. Like particularly when you're talking about those stones that are already lying on the grass, I would think like, you know, if we had a baseline for the high priority stones in both cemeteries, you know, to work forward from, that might be helpful.
Yeah, there's been no formal assessment of how many stones are left that are high priority, but it might not be hard to take a quick look and at least have a rough estimate.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Bob?
Yes, hi, Walker. Good to hear from you, and these are great projects. On the cemeteries, with the upgrade in the town signage that's sort of ongoing, it gets funded every year. Is there going to be an upgrade of the signage for the cemeteries? I realize that might be unrelated, or maybe it is related to this funding proposal. Just tell me a little bit about that.
It's unrelated, but I actually am working right now with Seth Gregory, who has done the graphic design for the rest of the signs, we're starting with West Cemetery because we had some funds for signage in West Cemetery already. But yeah, the plan is to update the signs for the cemetery as well.
But not out of this.
Not
out of
with
this
this
funding is
money.
just for restoration. Yeah.
Different funding.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Jonas?
Yes, hi, Walker. Wondering how you would prioritize down to like from one tombstone to another. And then also this may seem heretical, but is there a point where if it can't be salvaged, you would consider just a new marker? It still has it still marks it and gives us historical information. Obviously not as impressive as a 200, 300-year-old stone though.
So for the prioritization, we would start with stones that have already fallen or are cracked or actively leaning and in danger of falling. Those would be the highest priority. And after that would be stones that maybe have smaller cracks or aren't leaning as much, but will get worse in the next couple of years. And then the lowest priority are stones that are perhaps illegible because they're covered with lichen or dirt or just need a good cleaning, but they're not in danger structurally. So that's how you would prioritize that. And I'm not sure the answer to replacing it with a new headstone. I imagine that if there were any descendants of the person, that would be their decision. But aside from that, I don't think that's something the town would do because we wouldn't be in our funding to pay for someone's headstone, I don't think. But I don't know, someone else might have a better idea than me on that one.
Actually then raises the question of, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the age of the headstones and but the question of whether the private party, whether the descendants are expected to do any upkeep of the headstones versus town of Amherst. How do you decide that? I mean, obviously I think it's in the interest of Amherst to step in if they can't find descendants or the descendants don't have the wherewithal to do it themselves, but I don't know, I guess it gets tricky about deciding.
Yeah, my understanding is that cemeteries are considered public space and that the town does the maintenance. People can come maintain their stones if they choose to do so, but it's not a requirement. Many of these stones are from the late 1700s or early 1800s, and it's very unlikely that there is still a descendant that lives in Amherst and knows that the stone, that they might have a relationship to the stone's owner. So it becomes public property and public maintenance responsibility.
Right. And I'm active. I imagine they're not active. There are no new. It's at capacity now. It's
Not
the-
quite. There's still a few spots left in North and South cemeteries. I believe West Cemetery is full though.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jonas. Robin?
Excuse me. In answer to the question about recreating a stone, so if we're looking at preservation, historic preservation is the key word. So a recreation of a stone wouldn't be fundable under CPA for that reason. I think Walker touched on the fact that abandoned headstones essentially become the town's property. And then I just wanted to throw in that headstones are an amazing source for researchers. There's a website called Find a Grave that where you can research ancestry all over. And when you're doing research for historic buildings, it's just incredible. It's an incredibly rich database for people. And so along with the headstones being legible and locally, it also has this kind of larger use for historical research. So just wanted to put that out
Thank
there.
you. Yeah, thanks for, I remember you mentioning that when we reviewed this before, and I appreciate that. And the part about the preservation, that we fund preservation projects. Jason, I think you're up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that Robin just mentioned the headstone's value as a research source for information and research. Are there any other efforts included in this to, like, is there a digital map of the cemeteries and who's buried in each plot and the information? Is any of this being digitized in any way or preserved in any other way other than just restoring the headstones? And then also, and so in the application, it mentioned that burials began in the 1810s. And I just want to confirm, so there are still some plots that are open, and will people be,
Mm-hmm.
so these are still active cemeteries
Mm-hmm.
and they're owned
Yeah.
by the town.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and for the digitization part, currently you can go on the town website and search for a headstone by name. If you know the name of the person you're looking for, it will tell you which cemetery they're in and which plot they're in. And you can also go to the GIS map on the town website, click on a plot, and it will give you a list of who's buried there. And I am working on trying to add more information to that and link it with other resources, as Robin said, so it can be more effectively used for research. Because right now, if you're looking, you could look for a person, but you can't like search by any other criteria other than a name. And so I think there's information to be added.
It would be amazing if there was a website where you could just go and click on a plot and it pulled up the person and then like any potential historically significant things at that or even not historical, because at this point almost everything that you're going to find is going to be interesting at the very least, I think, for
Yes,
somebody willing to go look for it.
That is an ongoing project I am working on in the background.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I don't know if Jonas has his hand up again. Is that you, Jonas?
No, sorry. Thanks.
That's okay. Great. Okay. I didn't want to skip over you if you did have that. So, Ellen.
Yes, I completely concur with Robin about the historical importance of these headstones. But I'm curious, as the cemeteries are considered town property, can you share with me what the annual budget is? What is allocated toward their maintenance every year? And I'd also like to know, is there an endowment for perpetual care of these properties? And if not, has that ever been discussed?
I do not know the cemetery budget. That's through DPW. Dave might know more about that.
Was there a reason, Ellen, that you wanted that information?
I think I'm just curious how the town, if this is town property and open to the public, I'm curious how that is funded every year. Is it just through burials, or I guess?
Okay, I see. Not in relation necessarily to, I guess my question is, are you relating it to this proposal, or is it a separate sort of question?
I think it's related to this proposal. And is this going to be an ongoing proposal every 2-3 years?
I think what I have found is that is likely the case that many of these items don't fit into, we can find out, we certainly can find out from the DPW what was spent on cemeteries, and I'm imagining it's on you know, mowing and that kind of work, sometimes repairing fences. We've had requests for fence restoration. But we will get these repeated requests at CPA just because there isn't funding for it. But would that be helpful to you? Oh, Dave, are you raising your hand?
Yes.
Okay, so
had
sorry,
it
I
up
thought
there.
I saw a
Yeah,
movement
so
there.
absolutely, yeah. These are going to be recurring asks through the years. There is no endowment that I'm aware of for either one of any of the three cemeteries, west,
Yeah.
north, or south. It's going to be very difficult to impossible to probably pull out the annual expenditures.
Specifics.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is the maintenance for the cemeteries falls under the DPW Trees and Grounds division. They are the same division. Alan Snow oversees that for DPW, as the same division that takes care of all of our commons, parks, downtown
Right.
sidewalks, and many of our fields at our recreation facilities. They take care of our pools. It is a massive job that they undertake every year. And the cemeteries, clearly there are no funds for maintenance or restoration of headstones. And, I think a lot of communities who have CPA, as Walker said, we're playing catch up. And if we can catch up, at least we can try to be more kind of at a place where we're not going back hundreds of headstones. And it's been very successful. As Walker said, we're doing really well in West Cemetery. We just need to spend more funding in North and South to get caught up on some of the.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Dave, Ellen, that this is a catch up. And so the actual cost of doing this each year and the go forward scenario wouldn't be the same amount. Once it's hopefully fewer are falling each year.
Yeah.
But I can't remember when this was proposed last year or the year before, how long it had been since there had been funding for headstone repair. It had been a while.
I think we've been working.
Yeah, it's a lesser amount. That in fiscal year 25, it was I think 150,000 requests. So that would be.
Unfortunately, there is the wild card too, that sometimes vandalism happens in these cemeteries. So we can do the very best we can.
Right.
We hope for no vandalism. We hope for, even something like a major snowstorm or windstorm knocks down a tree, and that could hit 7 to 10 headstones, and boom, there's, as Walker said, I think it was $500 to $600 per headstone, and there you have it.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Is that helpful, Ellen? Did
Yes.
you get your, okay, great. So I'm just checking time. We're at 17 minutes, so we'll get to Angus. Oh, Leah, did you have something specific? I don't want to.
I just wanted to follow up with what Dave said and what Ellen was asking about. There is a portion of the plot fee that gets paid when somebody buys a plot, and a portion of that is moved into an account that covers some of the cemetery costs. But again, that's a one-time purchase. And then once it's full, there are no more plots for sale.
No more
There is
fees.
a portion that coming in from residents who purchase them that goes towards the upkeep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is one thing I love about CPA. You learn so much about how things operate, how things work. Thank you. Angus.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I need to get my plot before they're all gone.
Exactly.
But and I'll just note, this website's really cool. I just found there's 4 McLeods buried in the South Amherst Cemetery, so I want to visit them. My question is kind of an extension of Ellen's, which is just, has the town done any work with the Historical Society or Ancestral Bridges or any of the kinds of heritage groups to try and get volunteers to do some of this? I know I was in Philadelphia before moving to Amherst, and there were a lot of volunteer groups that did headstone cleaning. They couldn't, do like rebuilding or anything like that, but they did a lot of cleaning work. So I guess I'm just wondering if there's been any effort around that.
I'm not sure if so it happened before I started, but I have only been here a year. I do think that Ancestral Bridges was involved in some of the West Cemetery work, specifically the African American plots, that portion of the cemetery. But yeah, I'm not sure. I know other towns around do the volunteer cleaning, and that might be a good option once we have the high priority stones taken care of to kind of lessen the burden on the maintenance otherwise.
Thank you. Bob?
No, my question was answered. I would just say that the restoration that I've seen so far is really outstanding. It's beautiful.
Oh, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Excellent. Well, 19 minutes and 54 seconds. Well done, committee. We are staying on time. But no, are there any other questions for Walker before? Okay. Thank you so much. So Walker, are you now finished, or are you going to do the
Yes,
next presentation?
That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you so much. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
all your expertise. Thank you. You guys are awesome with your questions. This is so good. I'm learning so much. So Simeon Strong, I think, was up next, and do you see?
Yeah, Liz Larson, and also I believe Gigi is a director, I think she said. So I think both of them wanted access to speak if possible.
Okay, great.
Okay, should I let them in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Katie, could I ask a question?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Angus.
If we need to make disclosures, do we do that at the beginning of the presentation?
Mostly around discussion and voting, but you're welcome to do it before the presentation if there's something we'd like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I teach a class, and my students are working with the Amherst History Center, but that's all. And I don't think there's a reason to recuse myself from anything. I just wanted to discuss
Right.
that.
No financial gain from that relationship. Okay, great. Well, so thank you for that. Oh, Tim, did you have something? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, in past projects, I am a former trustee of the Simeon Strong Museum a number of years ago, just for clarification and disclosure.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, Ellen, did you want to
Well, I guess
disclose something?
if we're doing this, I should just reiterate that I'm chair of the Public Shade Tree Committee and work very closely with Alan Stone and the DPW on the tree and grounds.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, Liz and Gigi are welcome. I can't see you, but I hope we can hear you at least. Welcome to the CPA.
Thank you. Yes, I actually have a presentation I would like to
Great.
share.
Okay. That would
I can
be.
do that. I don't have permissions to do that at the moment.
I think we'll work out that piece. And I think you both have presented before. We'll welcome you and look forward to
Good. Here we go.
asking a few questions after. Let's see. Oh, there's Gigi. Great.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi,
it
welcome.
just came through. Liz, there she goes.
Yep.
Good.
There's Liz. Great.
All right. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, just a moment. I'm
Nope, no
PowerPoint
worries.
here.
Don't worry.
Okay.
We all can take a
And
breather.
now I can't share my screen.
Huh.
Is there, let's
All right.
see.
Now I'm.
Is that
Trust
something
me,
I need to do, Liz?
This is user error.
Oh.
There should be a menu at the bottom.
There, do you have it? Do you see my screen?
Not yet. Take
All
your
right.
time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do not know how to share a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation that is already running.
Well, if it's on your, do you have down below at the very bottom of your window, the share? The green
Yes.
share arrow? Uh-huh.
All right, I'm afraid you're just going to have to look at this on my desktop instead of in the full share view. So there we go.
Oh,
Bigger.
there you go.
You see
Yeah,
that?
it's great.
That's,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, I apologize. All right.
No, it's all good.
So, good evening. My name is Liz Larson. I am the Executive Director of the Amherst Historical Society. I have a brief presentation to provide background and context for our request for funding for repair work at the Strong House. As you no doubt know, the Strong House is one of the oldest buildings in Amherst, dating back to the mid-1750s. It has been the home of the Amherst Historical Society since 1916 and the location for our public exhibits and programs, as well as collection, storage, and administrative offices. However, in the spring of this year, we were forced to move operations off-site due to the structural needs of the building. How did we get to this point? In the summer of 2022, a CPA-funded structural engineering study was completed by Jacob Smith Engineering, originally done to establish a baseline for any impacts on the building from the Jones Library construction project. Nothing was identified of immediate concern. Jake did identify some weaknesses in the attic beams, and in addition, he identified issues with the foundation on the north side, noting these indicate the rot of general structural elements in this location and that future exploration will be needed. Moving ahead to the summer of 2024, our region experienced several intense weather events, including torrential rains. In the fall of that year, work on the CPA-funded accessibility study began. That study was to result in renovation plans, including cost estimations for making the Strong House ADA accessible to the public, as well as address needed mechanical updates. In October of 2024, a crack was noted in the northwest corner of the dining room in the interior of the house, and a noticeable drop in the floor of the northeast corner of the building. Jake Smith came in to look at it and initially felt that it was not unusual for the house. He suggested contacting Tiagno Construction for a quote to look under the floorboards in the northeast corner of the first floor entrance hall. In January 2025, we had a site visit from Tiagno Construction and Jake Smith. After reviewing both the interior and exterior, it was suggested that water from the north side of the roof has been flowing down between the L's and under the house towards Amity Street, eroding the soil underneath and causing the rot of existing timber supports and shifting fieldstone foundation. Opening up the floor would later confirm this. At the time, both Tiagno and Smith felt the repair work could wait until spring. In February, Jake Smith produced draft drawings of recommendations for the repair of the foundation under the northeast side. This plan was shared with Kuhn-Riddle Architects for accessibility planning and Tiagno for cost estimation. Based on those plans, the Historical Society received a bid proposal in March of $238,000 for the full repair work on the northeast wall and reinforcement of the roof. However, in further conversations, both Tiagno Construction and Jake Smith recommended that the house not be open to the public until the repair work was done. The board made the decision in April not to welcome the public into the Strong House for the foreseeable future. In late April, because of the immediate need to address the stability of the wall and its impact on the overall house structure, the board asked for a temporary stabilization plan to allow more time to finish the accessibility planning and secure funding for any repair and renovation work. Work began in May, and by June 2025, Tiagno had completed work on temporary stabilization for the northeast side of the building with a new footing and engineered load-bearing beam on the first and second floor. This is a temporary repair This is a temporary repair meant to buy time for planning and funding a more permanent solution. How does this grant request fit into the longer-term vision for the Strong House? After receiving the final report and plans for accessibility with a cost estimation of $2.7 million for a relatively conservative renovation to make the first and second floors of the house accessible, the board decided that at this time, that particular project is not feasible for this community to support. We are now looking at a much more modest approach using landscaping to create access to the first floor and eliminating the elevator to the second. However, we will still be using cost estimations on much-needed mechanical upgrades to move forward with planning a capital campaign in the next few years. Our current CPA application is for the foundation repair on the northeast side of the house, including earthwork to redirect water away from the foundation and for roof reinforcement for the entire building, excluding the L additions as originally proposed by Jacob Smith and Tiagno Construction in March of this year. The rest of the foundation was repaired and reinforced in 1988-89 with concrete and steel beams and continues to be solid. It is the area on the east side of the building that rests on a crawl space of fieldstone and centuries-old timber that needs addressing. This work needs to be done to preserve the Strong House and create a solid foundation, quite literally, for future work to provide public accessibility to the building. The original budget from March 2025 for the full project was $238,000. Our request to the CPA includes allowances recommended by the contractor for rising prices due to tariffs and inflation. And of course, we would only be putting in for expenses that were actually incurred. Thank you. And I apologize again for my poor screen sharing.
It's okay.
No, we could see everything. Thank you very much. Appreciate your putting that together for us. Thank you. So Liz and Gigi, we're going to launch into questions for you, if that's, unless Gigi, if you had anything else that you wanted to add.
No, Liz presented all of the information that we have clearly, so.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have questions on this proposal? Start with Robin.
Hi there. Hi, Gigi. Hi, Liz. Pardon my froggy voice. Really excited to see this project before us. Certainly very needed. My question is just a follow-up to the question I asked and the questions to the applicants regarding MHC's MPPF grants. To be clear, I don't work in that division. I'm actually familiar with the program since before I became employed there, and I was getting my degree and learning about different funding mechanisms. And in your answer to my question, you expressed some cautiousness about applying to MPPF, I think, concerning preservation restrictions and future needs to make the building accessible. And I wanted to still encourage you in that direction, both because there's the potential that, given this project is a stabilization issue, might be eligible for emergency stabilization funds, which are not grant cycle dependent. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is sort of I believe the CPA funds and MPPF preservation restrictions are pretty similar in terms of what they cover. But what I wanted to emphasize a little bit more, even beyond that, is that issues around accessibility are definitely at the forefront of the National Park Service in terms of applying the Secretary of the Interior standards. For my members of the committee who aren't familiar with this, which is probably most of you, the Secretary of the Interior standards are a requirement for CPA funding. They're really simple. I think there's 12 of them. They say things like material must be replaced, it must be repaired, and if not repairable, must be replaced with like material. There's a lot of strictness around that, but there's also a lot of understanding within the preservation community that flexibility around things like accessibility, around things like climate resilience, around things like energy modifications is really coming into the fore. So I don't think, I'm hoping or encouraging that that would not be an impediment for you to explore that funding mechanism, just because it's so substantial. That project is before the CPA. If it gets CPA funding, you'd have a match in hand. And it also just, I think it provides a really solid framework for these kind of projects. Years ago, before I got my degree, I worked in Lenox at a place called Ventford Hall that was undergoing all sorts of stuff. Like for 20 years, they've been undergoing rehabilitation of the building. And it was there that I started to learn all these different funding arms and kind of how they can be used in place. So that's basically my pitch. And I'm so pleased that you guys are looking for funding to augment the CPA. This year is a really great example of why that's helpful, because we have so much in terms of asks before us. And I just want to make that little pitch there. I also can send along some links to national preservation materials that talk about, you know, how the standards are interpreted in cases of building codes, and how, you know, how that can be part of the project. And it can actually be a better approach, because if you're working with the right organization, you're going to have a much more historically, you have the potential to have a much more historically sensitive alteration of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Robin. Appreciate that. Bob.
Yeah, I'm maybe not able to do the math here, but the 238 is obviously to shore up the foundation, the bones of the building and basement. And when you go back and estimate the full project cost of the scaled down project without the second floor elevator, do you have an estimate, or is that contingent upon getting these funds, fixing it up, and then going back out to market to find out what that will cost?
We right now have a working number that we believe, based on the cost estimations for the mechanical upgrades to the house, plus the roof repairs, and then this foundation work, and then kind of guesstimating what the landscape architecture would involve. We have a number, our working is about 1.5. We believe that given all of the funding opportunities that Robin was just mentioning, and other the Mass Cultural Facilities Grant, as well as local donors, that is a much more attainable number for us. That number does at this moment include the money that we are requesting for the foundation repair. We did include that in our overall, this is what we need to make the house stand up for another 20, not 25, but 7,500 years or more. So.
Great, thank you. Ellen.
Yes, thank you, Liz, for your application. I have two questions. Will this project, the specific one for the foundation repair and roof reinforcement, will that allow you to reopen the house to the public?
Yes, it will.
Okay, great. Thank you. And my second question is your applications to the 7072 Foundation and Mass Cultural Council, are they contingent on, I don't know about the timing, but are they contingent on receiving CPA money?
Yes, we expect that by the beginning of this year, or the next of 2026, we'll have an idea from the CPA committee on the status of our application. At that time, we can then begin pursuing, well, the 1772 is a November 2026 letter of interest. The Mass Preservation MPPF is a March 2026. And then the cultural facilities would be next next fall for 2026 as well. All of those are funds that require matches. And if we made a decision not to go after them this grant cycle, because if we do not receive the CPA funding, we did not want to be in a position of having money that we do not yet have a secured grant match for. And so because the CPA funds can have a 3-year life to them, we felt that there would be time for us to pursue these other grants that are a much more tighter time frame.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Yeah, that was great detail. Thanks. Thanks, Ellen. Angus.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I guess my question is extending what Ellen was just asking about, which is those 3 other funding sources that require matching grants. Those are to fund the larger $1.5 million project?
I would expect that we would go for matching grants to fund this project, so that we would be able to, as we did in our past, the accessibility project, we got money from the Cultural Facilities Fund from Mass Cultural that was matched by the CPA. And because of that, we are going to be able to, once we complete all the paperwork with the CPA, with Mass Cultural, we will be able to give back, we haven't received, but we will be able to return a portion of the CPA from fiscal year 25 to the town, because we did receive that other funding from the state. And we would be hopeful that we would be able to do the same thing by receiving money from these other organizations.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Liz. That was something it took me a little while to understand how that worked so I appreciate that. Jason.
Thank you, Liz. Sorry. So you say that you said that you would use grant funding for this project. So then is your intention to potentially receive, assuming you receive, let's just say you receive the full $275,148, then you're going to use that as leverage or whatever, I don't know what the terminology is, to try to get as matching funds for the grant, and then you'll use a combination of the grant money and this money to complete the project, and then money that's left from the CPA will go back to the CPA?
So let me just go back to the previous grant, the one that is currently active, the accessibility planning. When we presented that to the CPA committee 2 years ago, I believe it was, it was suggested that we pursue a Mass Cultural Facilities grant, with the understanding that if we were to get that, it would be used for the same grant that we were applying for the CPA. In the end, the committee fully funded that grant, our grant request for that. And in addition, we did receive $30,000 from Mass Cultural. So I would expect that for the same situation, I'm assuming that the committee would recommend that we pursue these funds again. And if we were to be fully funded by the CPA committee, and to receive the grants as we did this time, then it would be the same thing, where we would say, thank you very much, CPA, but because the state came through, we're able to return some of the money to the town, or to tell the town that we don't need it. So.
Okay, and the emergency stabilization fund that Robin had mentioned
I have looked at that, and I still can't find any definitive resources on that fund, like how one accesses it. And as I said, it's also because we want to do accessibility, and we want to make sure that any funds that we pursue, that we fully understand all of any limitations and any way they might impact how we can make the house accessible to our public. So we weren't able, we haven't fully explored the emergency stabilization, but mainly because I can't find where to explore it.
Yeah.
Gigi.
I looked around for emergency stabilization funds, and if I found any from the Historical Commission, it was for, true natural disasters. Like if the roof blew off in a hurricane, there might be access to emergency funds, but something like this, which is planned and can work out, I'm not so sure there's anything out there. I like Liz, I haven't found anything. But
Well, I'm sure if Robin has a suggestion, she'll send it
yeah,
off to you.
please do send them along.
Yeah, I know
That's
that
why
the-
we applied to the Cultural
Right.
Facilities Fund, was
Right.
communication from Robin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Surprisingly successful.
Yay. Yeah, the MPPF website has changed and I know that I had seen it referenced there even before I started working there. So
Yeah.
if whatever I can find out for you, I'll let you know.
Great.
Thank you. And it's to me, it's such a great process to be able to do both, for you all to do both, because you get the benefit of both options. And the chances are, if the state does fund you, that some of the money can be returned and be used elsewhere. So that's a bonus. All right, I think we're at time, but is there any other questions for Liz or Gigi? Terrific. Thank you so much, both of you, for the work you're doing and for being here tonight and for your presentation, answering all our many questions. I really appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
for
have a
your
good
time.
night.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we're on to the slate roof, and I'm not sure who from the town is presenting for.
Looks like Jeremiah is in the waiting.
Oh, great. Thank
Are you
you.
ready for him?
I think we are.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Leah.
I also have a presentation if you could help me so that I would be able to show that.
Be great.
Why can't I see?
Welcome, Jeremiah. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay, it should work now.
So turn on my video.
There you are. Great. It's working.
Besides, it wants to go full screen too.
There we go.
My fancy laser pointer. I'm gonna make all the cats in the crowd excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, my name's Jeremiah LaPlante. I'm the facilities and maintenance manager. And I have submitted my application for a town hall slate restoration project. So this is to essentially bring the town hall down to its planked roof deck and salvage as much material as possible, slate, metal flashing, and any other historical architectural details that we can, and salvage them or restore them, and then have a full roof put back on the building with the same beautiful red slate that we see up there right now. So here's all of the information that was in the application. And essentially just trying to express the urgency of getting the roof taken care of. The building is over 130 years old, and the last time the roof has had any significant repairs was back in the 1996-97 renovation. So it has been quite a long time. So the majority of that roof is original. The amount requested is $1 million. And I wanted to start off, so in my presentation, I brought a lot of photos. I took a couple hundred photos and I tried to whittle those down to my 5 to 10 minutes of talking, but I think that they're images of the roof from all sides, every different slope, and you will really get a sense of it. So here's that beautiful iconic building, and this is what we see. This is what we see when we walk by. This is what we see at the North Common. And now, if we get a little bit closer, this is what we're actually have up there. So as you can see in this image, we have missing tiles. We have tiles that are cracked and chipped. We have some more vertical. There's some caulking here. Several other missing tiles, chips. We have delamination that's happening. Lots more chipping, lots more missing. So these are just some more of the roof slopes. So here's on the gable ends, again, just more cracks, more missing tiles. We have loose tiles. We have some underlayment coming through. This is a big chip and some delamination there. These are some areas where either the slate nails have pushed through this face, or there could have been an insensitive repair where they just drilled through this slate, put the nails in, and then use some sealant to help keep it watertight. Another one right here, you can see how they've chipped away some of the tile, and that's to help replace this one down here. So again, it's not the right way to take care of it. Some areas of where we have snow retention, the snow fence. This one I think is a good one to show. So my intent is to add a lot more snow fence, and this really helps with all of the pedestrians walking on those public right-of-ways around the building and all those entryways. By adding it, though, we also help distribute the load of that snow across the full structure of the roof assembly. So here we have the base plate, and directly below it is a broken tile, and that's quite common if there's not enough snow fence. So this one particular fence has been carrying a lot of that snow load, and then cracks and crushes the tiles below. So again, more of the same, unfortunately. Yeah, and some more. You could see, I mean, this is a galvanized pipe and it's bending. That's a significant amount of weight. Tiles that are loose, lifting, shifting, cracks, again, a little bit of underlayment coming through. This is the backside of the tower, an area that you just don't see. There's some tiles, some big pieces of tile that are sitting on the backside of the tower. This is really, it's a fading green, so it's probably like a Vermont green. And I have some real close-ups, and you could see some oxidation. So it's some oxidized iron pyrite in some of these tiles. And again, it's a low quality tile. Aside from it not being a true red slate, it's also a low quality. And this is the part of the roof that probably breaks my heart the most. There's the conical area of roof just to the left of the big front door. And you could see that this has had quite a bit of water issue in the past. And what they did is they put caulking in between each of the tiles to try to make it so it doesn't leak anymore. The image on the right, this is directly below it, and you can actually see that the underlayment, the plank decking or whatever that structure is starting to cavitate a little bit. So this is on the back side of the building. So again, lots of lifting, loose tiles, some more of that face nailing, cracking throughout, more delamination, more missing on some of the different gables. Again, snow fencing and all of the tiles around it show significant wear. More broken tiles, and we are traveling around this building, so please bear with me. But really wanted to illustrate that the entire roof is in a similar showing the similar wear. Okay. So you can see, this is just a small piece of copper flashing, and what they'll do is unfortunate, but what they'll do is they've had to maybe repair this piece or down here, and they'll just slide a small piece of flashing up in there to help try to keep it watertight. So rather than loosen up all of the tiles around it and make that repair and then bringing it all back down, they'll just make a more localized repair and then adding a little bit of flashing to help keep it watertight. So not really the right way to do it. Lots more cracking. These pieces, I could see would be probably some of the next culprits to be coming down. But again, you have sealant here, so they probably glued it down. And I have found other tiles that were glued down. So here, I wanted to show you this so you could see at some point they did some repairs on these upper two courses of slate roof tile. On this third course, we can see a shadow line going across it. Essentially, what's happened is the installer has revealed a lot more of the face of this tile and basically has reduced the head lap of these tiles. So what we have up here, what that'll do is it exposes this section for water penetration. You know, every tile is supposed to lay over the lower tile a certain amount of inches, and we've lost 1.5 inches of that head lap in that repair. So again, I would just call it a little bit of an insensitive repair. More damage, more delamination, lots of cracking. So again, more of the same. And now this is what we see from underneath. So I went up into the attic and walked across all of the areas that I could, and we got to see what it looked like from the outside, and now we get to look underneath and see what's happening to our framing. So all of that staining was essentially water damage. The third image, this wood is actually saturated. We had a heavy storm this spring, and there was a significant amount of water that was coming into the building through this area. So this is all water damage. So we can see what the outside looks like, the inside looks like. Again, more just taking some photos of all of that. You can see all the plank decking and all that water damage. And then we're inside. And this is some of the damage that we're seeing on the interior of the building. So we have some water collection in these few areas to help lessen the damage to our interior furnishes and finishes. And then, oh, so this is also a fun one. So right here, if you look all along the valleys, you can see how the tile looks a little bit different. It's a little bit darker. This is all that work that was done in the 1990s. So you can almost see the shape of how they laid it in. Now the image on the right is a thermal. I have a drone and that has thermals for so I can do roof inspection. So I went up and took some images of the roof, and now you can see all those areas that were repaired. You can follow it almost exactly on both sides where it was all done. So you have the 1996 repairs in these areas, and then you have all of this other area where you have these hot spots coming through. This is all the heat from inside the building that's able to make its way through the insulation layers and then through the roof. So there is some energy impacts to having a deteriorating roof. Okay, so you see these big bright areas, and then you go over here and you can see that the tile is degrading, it's lifting. So just wanted to illustrate the energy impacts to having an aged roof. And really to go further with that is when we have water that penetrates the building, it does make its way onto that insulation. The insulation gets wet. It's less efficient. All that moisture starts affecting the air quality within the building. And those are all concerns. So I'm going to stop my share and come back to you.
Great.
Yeah, it's really important that we get this roof taken care of, and if we can get this whole roof done, we're gonna get another 100+ years out of it, and that's the goal. This isn't gonna be a project that we're gonna have to come back, and we will have to do maintenance, small bits of maintenance, but essentially we'll be getting another 100+ years.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Appreciate the presentation and the walk across the roof. I also just wanted to comment that I didn't know we were going to hear about oxidized iron pyrite tonight, and I really appreciate that you.
Sorry.
I know. I mean, this is why I'm saying this is such a great committee to be a part of. You learn so much, and I really appreciate your thoroughness. And for me, it was super helpful to see it all up close. So we'll launch into questions with Jason.
Thank you, Jeremiah, for the presentation. Especially like that last image there with the heat, the thermal imaging. It's really cool. I have a number of questions. The first being, is it a requirement that the roof is repaired with red slate? And then what is the cost difference between that red slate versus like a blue or a gray slate?
Honestly, I couldn't imagine it be anything but. There is so few of buildings, really, and it's probably, I'll say in New England, that have a full red slate roof. It would be hard to see it be anything but. At the same time, is that red unfaded slate is essentially sourced in one area in the United States. And that is in the between the Washington County of New York and Rutland County, Vermont. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So sourcing it would be a challenge. But it's slow, uh, obviously because the stone is much more rare. I don't know. It's incredibly expensive, or considerably more expensive than other color slate, but I would be hard it would be hard to see the building. It would be change it dramatically.
Yeah, I think
Sure, but but
historic
right now
preserva-
there's no requirement for it to actually be.
I'll have Rob
Yeah.
this historic preservation, I'm sure requires.
Yeah, so
Should
the, again, the CPA funding for historic preservation projects is a requirement that projects adhere to the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. And it's funny because the one standard that I threw out there was to replace like
Yeah.
with like, if at all possible. So yes, it absolutely is a requirement that under the guidelines of this funding, its connection to the Secretary of the Interior standards, that's what we would expect to see. Just as I don't know, a little explainer, there is a phrase that says that these standards should be applied when technically and economically feasible. That's the wiggle room. But that's a question for later. But the first question here would be if the slate is sourceable and it can be replaced, then yes, it's technologically feasible. And I guess we're here because we want to make it economically feasible.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, the intention is always for historic preservation projects under those standards is to maintain as much of the historic fabric as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate that. Jason,
And
you
then-
said you had a couple of questions.
Yeah, so then Jeremiah, this past repairs look pretty bad. One, what guarantees that this repair is going to be any different than those past repairs? And then will this $1 million, is this meant to cover the entirety of the roof, or is there going to be phases? Is the project meant to be phased?
Yeah, so the first question is I would say when you're working with slate, as I was mentioning when we were looking at a lot of those images, is they need to fish underneath and loosen up a lot of the tiles around that one that needs to be replaced. So by doing that, you're sort of loosening up a lot of the slate nails. By removing it all and then fitting them all back in together, it's just you're ensuring that everyone is being installed with the National Slate Roofers Association or the National Parks Historic Preservation are saying you're putting X amount of nails into each slate tile. All the spacing is appropriate, rather than trying to find a slate or cut a slate down that will fit into where an old one was broken. So I think in that respect, it's just a lot easier because you would be working, you're putting one tile on at a time, and you can ensure that it's being fastened properly. And the second piece, what was it real quick?
Phasing, is this meant to
Oh.
just be done all at once? I know in the proposal it said, but if I guess the implication that I'm trying to make is if the full $1 million isn't funded through CPA, or you don't get an additional grant or other sources, have you identified areas like that one that's letting in a ton of water where the wall was saturated to phase this, where potentially you can come back next year or 2 years, whatever, to get more
The goal would be to try to save as much money for the town as possible, and the best way to do that would be to do it in a single phase. If we think about the mobilization costs, just staging all of this roof, if we were to do it, it would, if we had to phase it in multiple phases, it could be done in 2 phases. But my best guess is if we did it in 2 phases, it would probably increase the cost between $300,000 and $400,000 overall, easily. Just with all of the Division One costs, with permitting, with scaffolding, the mobilization, all the scaffolding. I already said that, scaffolding and breaking it in demobilizing this. So again, it's just the goal is to get it done, but also get it done without spending any additional funding.
Great. Thank you, Jeremiah. Bob.
Yeah, thanks for that part about the scaffolding. That was one of my questions. Once you set that up, you sort of want to get the job done. My other question is, have the ghosts of your predecessors come back and apologize to you in your dreams for all those sloppy
still waiting.
repairs? My God.
I'm still waiting.
So slate contractors are in sort of short supply. Are there enough regionally to get competitive bids on this kind of job?
I think so. If you look just within the state, I would say you're probably looking at 3 to 4 more premier slate roofing company contractors. You might have a few more that could do the work. But I think something like this would get a lot of attention, and we would likely see slaters come from probably all New England bidding on it.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ellen.
Oh, thanks, Jeremiah, for your presentation. The photos are so great, really helpful. It's obvious that the building has suffered significant water damage, but I'm hoping you could help me understand the wooden roof deck. One question I have is there a worry or concern about wood rot or mold or termite infestation? And second, are the slate tiles applied directly to that water damaged wood decking? And if yes, then doesn't that need to be replaced as well?
Okay, so first answer or answer to your first question is it is a concern when you see that roof decking, and typically what you would do for a project like this is you would in the project specifications, you would want the contractor to carry so much money for potential deck replacement. So whatever that figure ends up being, that would be working with the AE firms, so the architectural engineers, to come up with what seems reasonable. Hopefully, when all the slate comes off, there isn't much damage. So then that would be money that wouldn't end up getting paid out, and it's kind of like showing a savings there. As far as how the roof is constructed, as far as I know, because I haven't seen enough of it opened up, as far as I know, the slate is nailed right to that plank decking. So you are right. If we're seeing a lot of water penetration, what is the integrity of that plank below? Well, we don't know. And I think that's what also kind of creates this sense of urgency, is to get all that slate off, what little underlayment that might be left, have that removed, make any necessary repairs to the wooden plank decking, then get in a full membrane on it. So that's where we bring in our technology, where we don't see it. we put a full membrane on that decking, and then we slate over that. As part, and to go a little bit further, so when I'm working on getting an architecture and engineer firm right now, and I've met with some this week, and one of the things that I've asked for is that when they are looking at this roof, to not only look at the obvious pieces, but all adjoining structure. So we would start to look at the rafters. We would look at the masonry where those rafters sit on the wall, because we can't just focus on the roof itself. We really do need to have a full assessment of the that roof and structure.
Yeah, I agree. I understand the limitations with the slate currently on the roof. I guess my concern is it's not in the budget to replace the roof decking, correct?
So in that proposal that or that the cost estimate, it has repair, but not a full replace of that decking.
Okay. I'm just concerned knowing that the wood is compromised and assuming the slate roof is extremely heavy, that compromised wood, and again, this is for somebody else, the architectural engineer, to figure out, that it wouldn't be sufficient to hold the weight, and especially when there's snow on it and all of that. But I guess that's just a concern, is will there be possibly the added cost of replacing all or a partial portion of the damaged wood?
So Jeremiah, it sounds to me like there is some in the estimation, there is some money for repair of some, but until you do the full engineering review, you won't know how much of it would need to be replaced.
Right, and then you won't know until the slate's removed.
Right, until you actually see
yeah.
it. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm just looking at 8 o'clock, and I think we have 2 more questions at least. So Jonas, you're up.
Yes, hi, Jeremiah. Thanks for the presentation. Looking at this from as I'm a homeowner, if I own a home in a historic district, I know that I guess probably the town of Amherst dictates that if I have to repair my roof, I'm going to do it with like materials. What's telling the town of Amherst that they have to replace this with slate? Is that because you are coming at the CPA through the historic preservation angle, and therefore, or if we, to play devil's advocate, you did a metal red roof, lighter, obviously a lot less expensive, why could that not be contemplated?
I think there might be other individuals that could answer that question best. I mean, I would just say, it's the building is it's like the cornerstone of the town center, and to see it be represented differently and losing that architectural detail. I think that aside from myself, there'll probably be a lot of people that would have a hard time with that.
Well, I think obviously it's Robin mentioned economically feasible. If we have all these presentations in front of us, I think so. And I guess also I don't know it's a little bit objective. Yes, I would say slate is obviously more historic, more attractive than a metal roof, but what's the difference? And if I'm walking around now, am I going to lament and say, ooh, what an ugly red metal roof? I don't know that I would. There's also a question of which facades are visible from the street. Are we fixing are we making cosmetic fixes that won't even be seen? You know what I mean? So I'm just putting out that as just patient of, I assume what some other people's questions would be. And I'm coming at from the simplest, which is being a homeowner and wondering, what am I gonna do with my roof? And obviously the weight, the ongoing, for maintenance, for sustainability, it would point to a different roof material than slate. So, thanks.
Thanks, Jonas. I think, Robin, you were up next, and I don't know if you want to speak again to the historic preservation piece and sort of
Yeah.
the like materials.
I can start with that. I mean, it's first of all that what's guiding us is with the placing of the slate with the same slate pulled from the same area is the purpose of the CPA, that the whole point of the funding of this area of historic preservation is that these things are challenges, but it's the historic integrity of the building. The design of the slate roof is a part of its creation. It was chosen on purpose to fit with all the other elements of the building. It represents a certain style. To move to a metal roof, if we can imagine a situation where red slate wasn't available, or it was so economically infeasible, because we are going to get to a point where we're going to run out of slate roofers at some point in my lifetime. Then you would probably go to something like an artificial red slate, where you would still be keeping that same aesthetic aspect of the building. But the reason that we don't just pick something else is because of that whole aesthetic design of the building, and that the purpose of the funds are to help us maintain that image. I sometimes like to talk about historic preservation as like a curation of the buildings around town. So in the same way that, you would repair a painting, you wouldn't just, go to Michael's and get, have somebody who wasn't very well trained color in an area. It's the same thing with our buildings. We want to keep that sense of the history on all aspects of it. My questions were, excuse me, hold on. I hope that answers your question, Jonas. Is that clear?
Yeah, I mean, it also, I just wondered, yeah, I mean, the fact that it's coming through CPA because of the historic, but it just makes me wonder, the DBW wouldn't, I mean, just, I guess to take it a little further, like, the common looks great now, right? What was the choice between brick versus, cement? So it's a little bit subjective, and it's not my area of specialty, but
yeah,
yeah, it's really, we really look back at the history of something, and and we don't need to belabor that point too much, but on ours, I mean, the nature of the funding, our hands are tied in certain ways. So you go down a path of what's possible, and then what's feasible, and from there. But my questions were for the town. It occurred to me as we were talking about some of the insensitive repairs. I don't know that we've ever had a discussion about, I've brought up the Secretary of the Interior standards, and from the time that I started on this committee to now, I've learned about them, but I don't really have any experience of applying them in the field. So I'm curious if the procurement process for this will include language around that particular aspect. And then I'm also curious if the town has or is going to develop a process that reviews the scope of work. So say this project leads to 3 bids from 3 different contractors. Would we have a process where a professional familiar with applying the standards could review the scope of work to assure, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward project, right? It's the slate, it's not that complicated, but nonetheless, I mean, I don't know anything on the construction and the rehabilitation side of preservation. So I'm curious about that. We have this requirement, we have these very specific standards, and then how do we assure that the work that's done is actually going to meet that requirement.
Yeah, to answer that, Robin, when I put together the specifications or the packet for our RFQ, so looking for that architectural and engineering firm, I specifically mentioned those standards because the historic with the historic nature of the building. You want to ensure that whoever I work with from the beginning, those designers have that experience with these type of preservation projects. And then that will then get communicated down to the contractors. So it is something that I've already have in there from the beginning.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think we're over time here. Jonas, I'm not sure if you had another question or
No,
if that's from,
I'm good.
okay. Okay, great. Well, thanks, Jeremiah. I really appreciate you and appreciate your presentation. Love all the photos and answering our questions. We're glad you're leading the way here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Wow. Well, we've gone through a lot of, I mean, from the Civil War to and beyond. The next item on the agenda is topics the chair did not reasonably anticipate 48 hours before the meeting. I don't have anything unless there is a topic that a member of the committee wishes to raise or a member of town staff needs to raise, then I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
And a second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much. And I have a couple of to-dos for next week. And so Leah and Dave, I'll be in touch with you all. And
Okay.
Bob, thanks for the minutes. And
And good chairing to you, Katie. Nice job.
thank you. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you. All right, we'll see you all next Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thanks.